Welcome back to episode 2 of the From the Spot podcast. Today I'm joined by Owen, Luke, and our guest speaker is James Harrison from TTMSport. I think we'll start off with a bit of a heated topic between the three of you on here. Liverpool versus Chelsea on the weekend. I mean, 0-0 draw, we kind of saw that coming, didn't we? But what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was a massively disappointing game, I think. There's some ridiculous stats. The first 0-0 draw between the sides in Premier League history or something like that since the Premier League era began. And we said last week, it's one of those fixtures you do expect a lot of goals from. You do expect a lot of excitement. And in Luke's piece earlier in the week, he mentioned how they're usually title deciders and finals and that sort of thing. And to see it become into a mid-table clash was something no one really anticipated, and it was sort of an indicator of where both teams are at the moment. There was a lack of quality at both ends, I think, and it was really, as a Liverpool fan, it really was not an enjoyable watch.
I mean, Luke, what's your thoughts on it from a Chelsea perspective? Because obviously you had the added thing of it being Mudrik's debut. He looked quite impressive in his little cameo appearance at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly does look like he's got a bit about him. It's still very early days, and for the way things are going at the moment, he might be out for 6 months next game with an injury. So I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't all kind of come crashing down around us. But at the moment, it does really look like we made the right choice in kind of going over Arsenal for the bid for Mudryk. But yeah, I kind of have to echo Owen's sentiments, just saying that it was kind of what was needed in a sense, maybe for both sides, a bit of stability, but it was just a really dull game. The chances were kind of few and far between. There was a few moments, a few nice little interchanges. I think Gakpo had a nice little turn and shot in the box, but Kepa and Alisson weren't really consistently made to work that much. And yeah, I think if anything, is you come down to the brass tacks of it, it's a much better point for Chelsea, but it's not a result that either side needed.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what you said before the game, isn't it? It's a game that both managers went into looking to draw rather than lose. Settle for the point rather than go for 3 and end up with nothing. I mean, James, do you agree with that?
I think it's if you're a Liverpool fan before the match and the week build up, it was 50-50. Half of me thought they're there for the taking. Their defensive frailties have been well documented, spending 80 million odd on Fofana. Then they've got the British, I don't even know who the hell he is. It's probably another 50 odd million. I don't know. You've got class. You talk about Mudryk, whoever he is. Here's one for you. You had a wonderfully beautiful ball come over from the right wing back position, and Mudryk was through on that left hand side, and he tried to take the ball down into his stride and clip it, and it come off his toe and went out. If that's Antonio Nunes, a lot of people were talking about saying 85 million for that. What a waste of money! But no one, again, fan bases are fickle. They'll say Antonio Nunes was completely out of order. He should have took it down and got it in his. But Mudryk, it's all right. He's all right. He's young. He's learning the Premier League, and you can see the inconsistencies between the media and the narrative around them. What I will say is, I thought he was excellent when he took on about 4 players in the box and tried to get his shot away. He looks dangerous. I think there was a bit of overexcitability about him. I thought he wanted to come on and eagerly impress, and I think as he settles down, I think you'll find that it's an excellent signing. I mean, fair play to Todd Bowley. I mean, Chelsea fans, you've landed on your feet. I mean, you got rid of one bloke, you got rid of one oil oligarch, and now you got in an American billionaire, and he's just spending it. But again, you're going back to the game at hand for Liverpool. Do you know what? I think, yeah, we got injuries, and I think we'll all be in agreement if you put Jota on form or Luis Diaz on form, or there was no Trent, we had Milner in, there was no Van Dijk, there was no Henderson in that starting 11. You can argue and say, well, if Fabinho's off form, you could argue and say, well, look, unfortunately, that's sort of the best we could have hoped for. And I think Liverpool now, you've got to just write it off. You just got to sidestep the game and go again. Remember this. Here's one for you. Just briefly going off topic. This isn't a normal end of January. This isn't a normal mid-January. We are in effect around Christmas time, because obviously the World Cup, everything was brought forward. So Arsenal fans that are really beginning, in my opinion, to potentially just they need to be careful, because if they continue to over celebrate like they are, and they're playing well, and as long as it's not Man United, I don't care, or Tottenham. I hate Tottenham. But basically, as long as it's not Man United or Tottenham, I'm happy for anyone to win it. But Arsenal have just got to be very careful with how they're over celebrating. Would you agree with that? Do you think they're going over the top?
Well, you would know that, we did it years ago in, around the Luis Suarez era.
Look what happened in 2014.
Yeah, exactly. We started singing, we're going to win the league every week, and I don't think it's that old adage, it's not over till it's over. I think Arsenal fans, in the majority, I think you'll speak to a lot of them, and they're still a little bit tentative to get too sort of into it, but it's going week by week now. They are starting to.
Oh, Owen, in the WhatsApp groups, in those WhatsApp groups, and in bed with their wives in the evening after they've got the result, they're getting and going, "We're gonna win it! We're gonna win it! This is it!" And then when they go in the WhatsApp groups with all their normal mates who support all different clubs and in the public domain, it's gonna be really difficult. I'll just be happy with top four. Rubbish. Absolute hogwash. Underneath everything, they're there and they think they've got this. It's striking similarities to us in the COVID season.
Yeah, definitely. I think we are very much guilty of that. But I think I was, for one, in those seasons, was a lot more forthcoming with my joy and with my over eagerness, I think. And I learned quite early on, and I think Arsenal will do it. But should they not win that league, they'll probably get the same sting that we got those few seasons where we sort of celebrated a little too early.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly got off the right way to, winning the league with that result against United on the weekend, that late goal from Nketiah in, what was it, the 90th minute, I think?
Who deserves an England call-up, by the way?
Agreed, 100%.
He does, yeah. He's been called into the squad under difficult circumstances with Jesus out, and he's performing, as you would expect, from one of the elite Premier League strikers. Maybe not to Haaland's level, but, he's up there with your Rashfords at the moment, and I'm not going to say your Nunez's, but I'll let you debate that one. But he's up there and he's doing really, really well. And I think if it wasn't for him, Arsenal wouldn't be in the title race anymore. I think he is that important to that Arsenal team at the moment. He is single-handedly keeping them up there in the fight.
I think, the transition has been fairly seamless. Like, they've lost Jesus. Everyone thought it could get quite difficult now. Then Nketiah comes in and completely steps it up. There's no doubt now that a player that before was very much like, is he going to get lost in the loan system? Very much how Rhys Nelson has not been able to tie down that spot in the Arsenal team. He's clearly a top six striker, far and away. So I think, they've actually managed to be able to focus on other targets. So getting in Trossard, they're now picking up that new centre back position.
Do you know what though, Luke? Do you know what, Luke? He's playing well. Top six striker. I don't know about that. Maybe in the future. Arsenal have got history of this. You go back to Joel Campbell. That's just one there from Costa Rica. You go back to another one who I loved. Really good. Carlos Vela. There's another one, and I just think that sometimes. I had a great debate on my podcast when I said that Virgil van Dijk is one of the greatest Premier League defenders of all time. And I was brutally shot down with saying, well, actually, he's only won one Premier League. And the reality is when we talk about Nketiah as a top six striker, on talent, how many other strikers out there on talent, pure talent alone, are better than him, like in his age group? Right, so Antonio Nunez is younger than him. That's for a start, okay? You've got the young lad at what's his name? Julian Alvarez at Manchester City. He's younger than him. You've got Chelsea have signed a young striker. You've got the kid at Leeds. I think he's more at that level. Gelhardt. I think he's good in Nketiah, and he is holding him up. I just can't have him. He deserves an England call-up, because if Bamford can get called up for England, then he can. I'd rather have like Ollie Watkins or Danny Ings. Like Danny Ings would have been like for Arsenal. I mean, how much did he go to West Ham for? 10 million, something like that. If you're Arsenal, you're in a term, for me, on a short-term deal, year and a half deal. So they've signed, go at the end of next season, 10 million quid, add him to your squad, proven goal scorer, nippy in and out of the box. He's going to get chances. That's what I would have done. But then again, I'm not a manager for good reason.
I think Nketiah, I think he needs a bigger sample size. He's 23, been in and around that Arsenal squad now on the fringes for a while. and like you said, he's showing splashes of talent now. He's scoring goals at the moment, but it is that word is proven. He's not proven yet. I think he does have a long way to go in terms of establishing himself in the Premier League.
No, look, I take all your points on board. We've got a very small sample pool of what he's actually been able to achieve, but it's big goals and big moments, particularly yesterday, when you kind of think, well, what more does a top six striker need to do? I mean, it's consistency, of course, but I mean, if you're thinking about Alexander Isak at Newcastle, they spent all that money on it. They've got Callum Wilson there, who, yes, I imagine he's above Nketiah for sure. I mean, he's proven consistently that he is Premier League top quality.
We'll go through it quickly, Luke. You got Harry Kane. Yeah, you got Erling Haaland. I'd say Nunes is above him. I'd say Jesus is above him. I'd say probably you could argue very much for who's a Chelsea Kai Havertz. I'd say he's performing well. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a Chelsea fan. I think he's a good player. There's a lot above him. Top six. I would say top six youngsters maybe. But is he? But really, is it? Because Gabriel Jesus, they say he was the signing of the season. He had tore down all the trees. Gabriel Jesus. If I was to tell you that Antonio Nunes has more goals and more assists in less games than Gabriel Jesus, and he's not even Premier League experienced, I think there's a vendetta. I think there's a media narrative.
This is what I've been saying all season. I think I've said all season, when you look at the numbers and you look at the minutes in which he's doing it, Darwin Nunez is in the 99th percentile for shots taken, XG, goals scored, and on top of that, he is creating. Yeah, he's a rough diamond. He's going to take some polishing.
I think the problem is there's so many missed opportunities, do you know what I mean? Where he's in that prime position where he could shoot and he just cocks it up. Yeah, he is consistently bagging goals, and you've got to give him credit for that. But he should be scoring a lot more than he is.
Anybody who comes to this league, especially from the Portuguese league, you look at his record at Almeria, didn't tear a penny trees. He then went to Benfica, first season, pretty similar to this Liverpool one, actually. Second season, when he was comfortable in the surroundings, he's a young family, he's a young father. He lit it up, especially in the Champions League. He then goes to the Premier League, and what you find is on a pre-season tour to the Middle East, he cuts in from the right-hand side, hits one, and we've all shanked one. We have, and it happened, and it was caught on camera. Manchester City fans jumped on it. Then the local media jumped on it. United are clearly going to jump on it, and all their fans. And from there, he was known as a donkey. When the reality is, he's got more goals and assists than Gabriel Jesus and an all-conquering Arsenal team. I think, get to the end of the season. If you're Nunes now, come to the end of January, but it's like Christmas. Set yourself a target, say 20 goals. Would you say that 20 goals and 6-7 assists in your first season in English football as a 23-year-old striker is good enough? I think I'd take that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But at the same time, when you see the opportunities that he's been given, and the chances that he hasn't capitalised on, you can't help but feeling he could be out there with Haaland on 25 already.
But then you say that there's the number that I look at is, I know obviously some people don't like it, some people do. I'm an advocate of XG, and Darwin Nunez this season, he's outscoring his XG. Very narrowly, mind. It's not like he's, blowing it away like he did last season, where he outscored his XG by about 9 goals or so. But this season, he is narrowly keeping up with it. Yes, he does miss a lot of big chances, but he's putting away chances that you probably shouldn't even be sniffing around as well. So I think it is, it's a very inconsistent season for him. If everyone's sort of demonising Liverpool fans for using this word chaos, but he is absolute chaos. And I think once he gets that perfect balance of being extremely explosive and fast and using his agility and using his power, but then in the moment to be able to slow down and finish and pick his spot, I think once he finds that balance, which I genuinely believe he will be 20, 30, perhaps even 40 goals a season striker one day.
I think when you look at Leicester, 37 million for Slimani, and you look at Chelsea at 99 million for Lukaku, but no one mentions them. Just saying,
I think a big point of it always, I think, there's definitely a player in there. He's just got to find his consistency and find his feet. And as you say, as soon as those XG turn into actual G, then he'll be great. But there was a moment in the game where he was played through one-on-one against Thiago Silva, and yes, Thiago Silva is a brilliant defender, but I didn't really feel like Nunes was ever going to get like a meaningful shot on goal. And I think, yeah, well, he just pushed him wide, pushed him onto his left foot, kept him that side, and then yeah, it was great piece of defending, but it's a different aura than say if it was a Haaland in a one-on-one situation. But it's true. It's very much a case of you got to give him time. You can't I still think, as you say, when you come down to the bare bones of it, he's having a good first season in Premier League football. It's just he's not scoring 25 goals in a season, but that's not a regular occurrence. There's not many strikers in world football that could come in and do that. And I think if any striker going to Man City, you'd be surprised if they weren't already around about 20 goals for the season.
I get both sides of it.
I mean, I think I'm more worried about Cody Gakpo, honestly. I know obviously only 4 games in, but he hasn't really shown me anything yet. I mean, he had 7 shots against Chelsea, only 1 on target. You know, I know he absolutely blew the Eredivisie up, and I believe there's a really good player in there, and it is premature for me to even state something like this, but he doesn't excite me like Nunez does.
Yeah, I think he's more of a left winger. He was the captain of PSV Eindhoven for a couple of seasons. Still a very young boy again. I get what you're saying. As Liverpool fans, we've been uniquely blessed to have people like Luis Diaz come in and just rock up, like Diogo Jota, Fernando Torres, Luis Suarez, Daniel Sturridge, people that are, come in and immediately hit the ground running. And I think he'll come good. I just think he needs time, and he's coming into imagine it in a Formula One sense. He's coming into a Mercedes, was all seeing all dominant, and actually he's coming into a team that's bang average at the minute. And I think it's going to take a bit of time. Chuck him out on the left, give him a bit of time, and he'll be good. But it is what it is. I think with Liverpool, I think with the Qatari investment authority, whoever they are, that's actually there was really good sources coming out over the weekend. Those discussions are taking place allegedly, and those discussions do look to be moving forward. And for all those Liverpool fans out there that are saying we don't want your money, we don't want your oil money, I do. Do you know what? I do. I actually don't even care anymore. And as far as I'm concerned, well, look, if you can't beat them, join them. So imagine if everybody in the Premier League in the top 15 clubs is all bought out by these oil-rich billionaires, and it levels the playing field, doesn't it? And as far as I'm concerned, it does. But if you're a Leicester fan, you sat there thinking, yeah, that's ridiculous. How's that fair? It's not fair, Reece. It's not fair. Life's not fair. And you put Liverpool, I'd tell you, I'll be very, very worried if I was Tottenham. And I know they had a meeting with the PSG, Nasser Al Khalifi, I think his name is, allegedly in London, and they had a discussion. But their owner, Mr. Lewis, he's not going to give that up. I'll tell you that now. They need money more than anything. Liverpool, look at the just very quickly, Reece, and I'll hand it back over. But you look at the two commodities on the market, Manchester United and Liverpool. Man United are going around 7.7 billion or 7.2 billion pounds. Liverpool up there for like 2.7, 2.8. Brand new AXA training centre, less than 2 years old. The Anfield Road end is being developed as we speak. There's further scope to develop the ground even more. The main stand is state of the art. And you then have to look at Old Trafford. Okay, you need a brand new training complex because Carrington was built in the late 90s. It's now not fit for purpose. Ronaldo testified to that. Old Trafford's got the leaky roof that we all know it has, and that's going to cost up to around £1 billion in alleged estimates to fix that. That's 8.2 billion. What, 300 million for the training complex? Because that's what you're going to need to keep up with the best. You're looking at around £8 billion. That's before you look at an aging team. Casemiro, great signing, good for 2 seasons. Do you know what I mean? And you're looking at these players that they're bringing in, they're aging. If you're the Qatari investment fund and I was a businessman and you were looking at the two clubs, I'd go, I'll probably buy Liverpool for £2.2 billion and then continue to invest into the commercial activities off the pitch and continue investing into the playing squad because actually, I think they're in a better position.
Oh yeah, 100%. Liverpool is a more attractive club to buy right now than United. I mean, the interest from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he owns Nice out in France, a team that I follow quite closely. And I mean, their investment strategy has been all right over recent years. Yeah, the league results this season aren't ideal, but in general, they're doing all right. They're through to the next round of the Conference League. They're doing all right. And I think it's owners like that are actually involved in sport. They're involved in the cycling as well. I think that is what a club like United needs, or Liverpool. I think it's what any club in the Premier League at the moment needs, rather than these Arab investors that maybe don't really care about the football.
No. Well, yeah, I think, like you said about the commercial revenue and everything with Liverpool Football Club, is for the first time in this 26-year history of the Deloitte Money League, we're finally earning more money than Manchester United. So that's just another bullet point on that list. We're making more money. We have a better stadium. We have better facilities, but the only problem with FSG at the moment is that they're not reinvesting that money into the playing squad. And I think with the Redbird sale that they had earlier as well, then they acquired a hockey team with that instead of investing that to Liverpool. John W. Henry was quoted the other day talking about baseball players being expensive. It just seems as if Liverpool doesn't seem like a priority to them at the moment, and that is something that Liverpool fans worldwide will just not accept.
Yeah, it is sad, isn't it, to see two of the biggest clubs in decline simply just because the owners can't be bothered to put the money in. I mean, you look at Leicester, and 5 seasons ago, just after we won the league and everything, you're thinking, okay, we've got owners that care, owners that are really invested. But now we're left with Kuntop, and as much as fans can't hate him because of the legacy with his dad and everything that they've done for the club, it's clear to see that he's not as interested in Leicester as his dad was. Do you know what I mean? The investment's been diabolical. We've signed one player in the last 18 months, or two, but they're not the quality we need if we want to be fighting for Europe again. And I think it's the point now we're getting to where you need the big Arab money, the ones that are just willing to splash the cash, rather than the ones that do care about football. It's that weird balance, isn't it? As fans, you're not happy if the owners don't care about your team, but at the same time, the ones that do care don't seem to be the ones that have got the money to spend.
I heard a rumor it could have been FIFA Fair Play, allegedly.
Yeah, I've seen that with the wage bill and everything, but at the same time, the owners just don't seem to care. I mean, there's a point where, okay, you can't spend any more because of financial fair play, but they've not come out and said that. Do you know what I mean? If that was the reason, they would come out and say, look, we can't spend any more. We're going to breach the restrictions and be open. And that's what Rhys Webb would have done. He would have said, we can't spend any more. That's the position we're in. But this is what we're doing to try and get the best out of the situation. Unless you're City or Chelsea. But I mean, there's none of that with Kuntop at the moment. I don't know whether it's he's not sure what he's doing or he's losing interest. I get that King Power have had a difficult period over the last few years with lockdowns and the travel business and duty free not necessarily being as lucrative as it once was. But if you haven't got the funds to invest, then it's time to sell up.
And that's what Liverpool and United are clearly doing. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. At least with Chelsea, I mean, as I say, you do the stadium, no doubt. There is space there. You just knock down the hotel, don't you, and shift the ground along a bit. At Chelsea, you got a lot to look forward to there. I don't know what to make of Potter at the minute. He's playing that Hall. Where's Jorginho? Where's Kovacic? Where I don't understand. You need stability, and I think if you're going to start introducing kids, so that's great. The only thing I can think of is maybe he's been told by those above him, we won't sack you in this first year if you can start to bring through an identity, and that's the only thing I can think of. Either that or he's bloody brave.
I think, I think very much that conversation has been had where there's this far off dream model that they kind of have based around a lot of their American sports ownership, where they have these young players on long-term contracts. So they just keep this carousel of consistency coming through. And yeah, players like Jorginho, there's a lot of talk that he's not going to get his contract renewed, so he might be available come the summer. Kovacic, I think, had an injury for the game of the weekend, but and he's in line to come back for the match against I think Fulham in the coming weeks. But I think Hall is certainly a player that I think Potter has taken a fancy to, because he seems to be his stopgap for wherever he can be played. He's been playing left back, left mid, centre mid, he looks very good. I think you're right. It's brave, and unless a conversation has been had, it could be decisions like that can cost the manager his job. But I think he knows kind of that he's secure at least till the end of this season. I pointed out last week about how Aubameyang was subbed on against Man City and then subbed off. And for a player of that sort of stature, in a sense, you'd think that would be the end for him. But he came on again against Liverpool. didn't do a lot. Again, it's a player that I think is just more hassle than he's worth. But yeah, I think Potter knows that he's quite secure in what he's doing, and he's starting to get his feet under the table in the job. I think the big I think debate between a lot of Chelsea fans was the fluidity of the formation. I didn't really know what we were playing at all throughout the game. It sort of depended where the ball was. We'd move into a back three, a back five, four at the back, just at different points, and that can be quite difficult if you haven't got the right personnel to play that. So I think in that sense, playing the young players that are more malleable and they will listen to you just saying go there when I tell you to, as opposed to having preconceptions of how they think football maybe should be played at the top level. There's definitely a point to that. So we'll see. Personally, I think it's time to change. But yeah, it's bold. It's bold.
I mean, at Chelsea, it's very much a different situation to what Everton have got going on. They've not got the players they need and the positions they need either. But they've also not got a board that's willing to invest. At least Chelsea have got that. And I think at Everton, I think Lampard has definitely been made a scapegoat. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he could have done much more than he has with the players he's got and the investment he's getting.
With Frankie Lampard, I thought he was lucky at Derby. He had Mason Mount to call on immediately. He had who else did he have there? He had Fikayo Tomori. He had Tom Kearney. Rooney didn't have any of those guys. I thought he was lucky there, but ultimately still had to manage them, and got promoted, close to promotion, so done a good job. At Chelsea, I thought he was poor. Again, at Everton, when he went in, we said on our podcast he went there down. Just can't see it. Now, I've got a very unpopular opinion. I mean, a lot of the football community seem to be turning on this Everton board, just like they did at West Ham, actually, a few years ago, if you remember. They stuck with it, and now West Ham, yes, they're having a rocky patch, but they ain't going down. Everton, Mashiri, when he come in, let's not forget, this guy spent money. Like, I might pull up while you guys chat in a minute. I might pull up their transfers from circa 2017 to 2020. They spent a lot of money, and the crux of it is this: it's not that they don't have a good team or players, because they do. They've got lots of square pegs for round holes. That's your problem. You're spending £47 million on Alex Iwobi. You're paying massive wages to Alan, in the middle of the park. You spent £25 million on that striker that went back to Turkey. What's his name? Didn't he go to Burnley on loan as well? I'm picturing him in my mind, balding head, beard, the Turkish dude they had.
Cenk Tosun.
Yeah, Cenk Tosun as well. Yeah, exactly. They're spending money. Like they brought Theo Walcott from Arsenal, paid him ridiculous wages. They've brought in Yerry Mina from Barcelona again. They got money for Luka Dean. If you're Jordan Pickford, you get the hell out of there. You sign for Tottenham, and just get the hell out of there. But I think Everton are in real trouble. But I think the owner's gone, well, hold on a minute. He was being criticised because he was spending too much money, and now he's being criticised because he's not spending any money. He's confused. The fans are confused. The rest of the board's confused. There's different managers. It's like a revolving door. Who have we had since? We've had Martinez. We've had Silva. We've had Allardyce. We've had who else? We've Koeman. We've had Benitez. And Ancelotti, Lampard. This is 4 or 5 years. There's no stability at the football club. If it was me, I'll be thinking, right, Mashiri, if he's got cash, which he says he has, go and get Simeone. And if you don't want to go there, okay, that's fine. Get Sean Dyche. Just get someone to grab him by the balls, excuse the pun and the language, and just get him to sort it out. Because they're a good team.
I mean, yeah, you've got Rooney, Bielsa, and Sean Dyche. The top three linked with it. I think it's an interesting debate, really, isn't it? Who's the best fit? I think out of the three of them, I think Bielsa is the best manager out of the lot. But is he suited for Everton? No, he's not. They haven't got that attack. They haven't got the attacking qualities. You know what I mean? He's more suited to a team that can play that kind of Spanish style of football. And Everton are they're too bland. They're too bland. They need Sean Dyche. But I don't want them to have Sean Dyche. I want Sean Dyche to come to Leicester when Brendan gets sacked in a few weeks' time, because I can see it happening.
Maybe going down's good for him. clear out the deadwood, because written into their contracts, is if you get relegation, well, that's if they've conceivably thought about it. On the Peter Crouch podcast, they talked about contracts for Premier League footballers, and they say that, and when you get bonuses for performing well, they're paid over a certain period of time, but they also have relegation bonus, like Football Manager. 25% wage cut if you get relegated. We've all been there at 3 o'clock in the morning, sat there with pizza, thinking, "Yeah, I'm the best," But the reality is here. Maybe they're going down. Start off with a brand new stadium, have a season in the Championship, get rid of the deadwood, get promoted. First season back in the Premier League, brand new stadium, good manager in charge, and you can see it. But to gamble, isn't it?
It's hard to tell what's gone wrong there, to be honest, isn't it? Because you can't say Lampard's a poor manager because after what he did last season, saved him when it was like almost dead certain they were going down. He's got what it takes. And you don't suddenly lose that at the turn of the season. You can't solely pin it on Lampard. But at the same time, like you said, the board have invested, not necessarily in the right players, but they have invested. It's kind of a bit of a both of them to blame sort of situation. And the fans aren't exactly the most patient in the world, are they? So there's that added element of pressure, as well as, okay, we're in the relegation zone. You've also got to look at the fans are turning against us. There's extra pressure on. It's just not working. I think sacking Lampard is a good move, but I don't know what they're going to do to make it better.
And you're looking at a potential club to buy, you're going to be looking at Everton. Do you know what? I'd rather buy Sunderland. Do you know what I mean? Massive fan base, massive stadium, can rival Newcastle. That's where I'll be heading, or Aston Villa, or Birmingham, a major centre, Bristol City, big cities. And that Everton, Liverpool have that on lockdown, Merseyside. It's red.
I think, like you said, it's one of those situations where you've got to go backwards to go forwards. They have to drop down and almost start from scratch again, because otherwise nothing's going to improve. I mean, if we go back up to the other end of the table, you've got Arsenal, United, City, some will say Newcastle in the title fight.
So as far as I'm concerned, they're a genuine threat. They are now. They are right now. And anybody says they aren't, they're lying. They're still in the Carling Cup. They're in the semi-final of that. They're still in the FA Cup. They've got no European football. They're on the up. They're together. Eddie Howe's got them playing well. But we all know, really, he's a good manager, but he's not really the manager that they want. They want someone of a Simeone, Mourinho. They all do. And they'll say, and the fans will turn around and go, Eddie Howe's great. Yes, but yeah, so did Mark Hughes at the beginning. Do you know what I mean?
But it's that difficult thing, isn't it? Because he's doing so well, you can't get rid of him.
They're probably quietly annoyed, though. I think, yeah. They're probably quietly annoyed that they can't get in someone high profile, because now would be a travesty to sack him. They'd probably want him to be pushing more for about 9th or 8th, but he's definitely exceeding his expectation.
I used to feel sorry for Newcastle fans. I did. I used to feel sorry for him under Mike Ashley, and then when we were doing Twitter Spaces for a while, we jumped into Twitter Spaces when Kieran Trippier had signed for Newcastle, and I had an extremely unpopular opinion. I said, "Well, let's be honest, guys. He's only gone there for the money," and it was like dropping a boom. Literally, people, you're an absolute disgrace. He's gone there for the love of the club. What love of the club? He goes, "Yeah, he's coming home." I said, "He's not even from Tyneside. He's from Burnley." And at the time, Burnley were above him in the league. So I said, "Hold on a minute. If he's going home, he'll go to Burnley if it's not for the money, right?" And they won't have it. He's gone there for the money. Bruno Guimaraes has gone there for the money. Everybody knows they've gone there for the money, but their own fans won't admit it. If the oil money comes into Liverpool, right, and I'll hold my hands up right now, if that oil money comes in and we sign Bellingham and we go in and we sign, I don't know, who can we sign? World class, Gavi or Pedro, whoever, and we'll say, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, he's gone there because with the project that we're building." Rubbish. He's gone there for the house. He's gone there for the education for his family, and he's gone there for the £380,000 a week after tax. That's why he's gone there. It's quite obvious. We all would. Rhys, if you could write for a publication that's gonna pay you 10 times, what you're doing now, you're gonna do it. If you work in Aldi and you get the same contract from Sainsbury's for 6 times more money, I know where I'd be get. Do you know what I mean? It's all the same. Whatever work you do, money talks.
That's it. Football's a business nowadays. As much as we like to call it, the beautiful game, the sport that we love. And as much as it is those things, still, it is a business. So much money in the game, so much finances and cash flow that the players are going to, they're going to know that this money's there and they're going to want it. If they're bringing in money to the club, if they're competing at the highest level, playing at the highest level, they're expecting the highest wages. And these clubs, Newcastle, Chelsea, Manchester City, PSG, they can afford it, and that's where they're going to go. Like you said, they're not going to sit and play for 80 grand a week when they can go elsewhere and make 250 grand a week.
I think a lot of people felt for Newcastle when it was going so badly, but they're at a point now where they're going to get into the top four at some point, whether it's this year or next year, and it's going to be so damn hard to get them out. And that's all it's going to be. And as you said earlier, James, touching on like everyone's going to have to try and find some oil money from somewhere, and that's what the league will become. You'll get 12, 13 teams that are bankrolled by billionaires, and then it will just become a case of that will level the playing field. And everyone that comes up from the championship will go straight back down, and it will just become... I don't think it would ever go to that because there'd be so much fan uproar, but it's building towards that American model of no relegation.
Well, there won't be fan uproar. I think that's the thing, because every club's going to end up like it.
But they will go towards the model of saying there's no relegation. So all the top teams that have all this high investment will just rebuild when they finish at the bottom to push their way to the top again. And it's not what we know in this country, and I don't think it will ever pass. But a lot of the ownership will be looking at saying, well, that's the way we make the most money if we keep all of the teams in the top.
Well, they'll run out of clubs, Luke. They'll run out of clubs, so they will have to start going down the league. Far southwest England. Talk about Cornwall, biggest there, Plymouth, Torquay. That's it. If you get a club down there, if you get a club like down at, I don't know, Land's End or somewhere, or Paynton or somewhere like that, massive, you could build an absolute super club down there that would have that whole scouting network and area on lockdown because they all go to Southampton. Do you know what I mean? From down there, hence you get Gareth Bale, Theo Walcott, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Luke Shaw. It goes on and on and on and on. There's a lot to do, but as I say, football at the minute's good. It's good, especially with Liverpool. I hate to say it, struggling. I hate to see us struggling, but dare I say it, it was good while we were challenging at the top, but it's added a new. We've turned the page and the drama story continues, and it's just interesting now to just follow it. Look, we won the league. I always made a commitment to myself. I said when we won the league, I won't moan. What's the point? We won that. We climbed that mountain. I hope Arsenal don't win it this year, if I'm honest, because I want them to go longer than the 30 years than what we had after all the crap that they were giving me growing up. When they had Vieira and Henry and Gilberto Silva and saying, basically which we were. When you're talking, we had Jimmy Traore, Vladimir Smica, Igor Bishkan, and Salif Diao. It was tough. So who am I to moan now? We're sat there with Thiago, Van Dijk, Salah. Who am I to moan? We're just going for a phase.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I suppose if you want to move on and talk about, your upcoming fundraiser that you've got going on, a trip to the Netherlands. So yeah, if you want to tell everyone a bit more about that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So TTM Sports was started off in 2019 with me and a couple of mates, and it was just a general podcast. It was Joe Rogan-esque, I suppose, talking about your conspiracies and all that sort of stuff. What we then did for our YouTube channel is we decided to visit in 2020 every single English Premier League football stadium in a world record time, which we did. We smashed it. We did it in 21 hours and 6 minutes, and we finished at Leicester, actually. And I suppose it never really got the coverage it deserved because we don't really have a budget to match Minimeter or whoever he is from, that guy did it and he got like 5 million views. And we just smashed him out, out the park. And at the time, we didn't do it for charity, but we'd always wanted to, do something and do the same sort of thing again, but abroad. So when we were sizing up, we looked at Wales and we thought, boring. Let's be honest, it's crap in it. Do you know what I mean? It is, and let's be honest. Swansea, Cardiff, and Newport, they should all be playing in Wales, in my opinion. However, it's another story. I'm Wrexham. What I will say is that with my work, my day job, we always have to do stuff for charity and charity events. So I said, okay, I'm going to do something mental. I'm going to visit every single Dutch Eredivisie stadium in 24 hours. We're going to start in Volendam, just north of Amsterdam, in a car that we're going to rent out on the 6th, 7th of May. start in Volendam, go up to AZ Alkmaar, go across the Camber Bridge, and go around in a big circle where you go to Emmen, Heerenveen, Groningen, go ahead Eagles across the SU 20 down to Nijmegen, Fortuna Sittard up to RKC, Eindhoven, then you go to Rotterdam where we'll park the car up at 6 in the morning, and then get onto the tram. And basically, there's 3 grounds in Rotterdam, which is L6 Sparta Rotterdam, and Feyenoord, and then up to Utrecht, and then it finishes in Amsterdam. You know, great, amazing, and we're trying to do this for charity. It'll be videoed for YouTube, of course. It'll be good fun, and it's just something a bit different. I mean, can you tell me anybody else that's doing anything like that from this country? No, you can't. And as far as I'm concerned, doing it for a charity called Mates in Mind, which is to break the stigma of poor mental health deep within the construction industry. I mean, when I used to think about mental health, I used to think a lot of, oh, shut up, get on with it, oh man, whatever. And then it sort of happened to me a little bit, and I was thinking, oh, as a man, I felt a bit like, oh, I don't really want to say anything here. It's a bit embarrassing, but you felt a bit low, and I spoke to my wife, and I got a bit of help, and it was great for me. And I, luckily enough, come through the other side, and recognize those signs. But there's a lot of men out there that don't talk about it and won't talk about it because I believe it's stigmatized. And when you factor in the construction industry as well, I can imagine up and down the country on building sites, in a man it is, and women as well, of course, but predominantly it's a male and orientated business on those building sites. You're going to find that they're not going to say to them, mate, I'm not well. Not like if Rhys says to Owen, how are you, Owen? You go, I'm okay. And then Rhys goes to Owen, no, how are you really, Owen? Owen goes, okay, look, I'm having some difficulties in a minute. I gather you two could talk about that. But if Luke's on a building site and you get a character, I don't know, maybe like myself, that's quite a bit out there, a bit boisterous, shall we say, Luke would maybe, just hypothetically, Luke, you may not feel as if you could say to me, yeah, look, James, I'm struggling at the minute, mate. Do you know what I mean? Because is he going to take the mick out of me? Is he going to do this and that? And what this charity does, Mates in Mind, is breaks down those boundaries and gives people an avenue to say it's okay to talk, it's okay to have support, because the quicker you get support, the quicker you can get back on your mountain bike of life and ride off into the sunset. It's absolutely fine. So if we can raise money for that, great. But when you incorporate into it football as well, and going to see these grounds, there's a lot of historical facts I can tell you about these grounds, which I'll save for the video, of course. It's really cool and it's important. You never know. I might try and do, Lithuania or something, something mental. I love doing, you know, with charity and work, people go, oh, I'm gonna do 8,000 steps up on a treadmill, pretending it's Mount Everest or whatever, or I'm gonna do a sponsored silence. Or you hear us like, yeah, we're gonna go to the Dutch Eredivisie and we're gonna, every single ground, world record time, great stuff. What are you gonna go and do? You're gonna watch that. And if it's raising money, then great. Come on, man. Let's enjoy it, have fun. And if people want to donate, it's on Just Giving. Mate, even if it's 10p, doesn't matter. It's still a donation.
Yeah, for everyone listening on YouTube, we'll have a link in the description. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon Music, then there'll be a link on our website, FromTheSpot.co.uk, which will send you straight to James's fundraiser.
Absolutely. We've got a target of £1,000. Been fundraising for about 2 weeks. We've got about 359 quid at the minute, so it's not too bad. We're hopefully getting onto TalkSport, hopefully getting on to BBC Bristol, Bath, we're in the southwest where we live, and hopefully trying to really drum it up. But look, I'm even talking to you, Owen. I'm talking to you, Luke. I'm talking to you, Rhys. Drop a fiver in it. Do you know what I mean? Show your support, guys. And then and if you ever do anything like that in the future, I'll be the very first person to show support. Go straight to charity and to help people. There's too many unnecessary deaths happening right now. It doesn't need to happen, and we can help it. We can change it.
Sounds bloody brilliant, mate. Sounds really, really good.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very noble cause, and I hope you smash that target. I think you will.
But no, I appreciate you guys. Letting me onto the show and to talk about that sort of stuff, because it's cool. Again, I have to reiterate, anything you can donate or share on any socials, please do, because we're trying to do something really cool. Got a charity pot in chip shop going in. I've got one in my barbers. I've got one in the bookies. Maybe even us four could do some sort of a challenge. in the UK, absolutely, where we could watch maybe, I don't know, 4 live games in a day or something like that from each division. I'm sure, there's lots of stuff you can do, or visit in abandoned stadiums and stuff like that. There's so many cool nostalgic things that you can do within the football community. But it's times like this where the football community come together. It's just a privilege to be part of this community. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely get you back on after you've been out to the Netherlands. I think to wrap this one up, we've got to go to this week's episode of Start Sub Sell, which, Owen, if you want to introduce the players for that.
Yeah, so this week we're going to go for some English starlets. We're going to go Marcus Rashford, the inform man of the hour, Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden, which is probably the most difficult one, I think, so far. In terms of the start, I'm personally going to go Bukayo Saka. I think he's the best of the three. I think he is an incredible talent. He's only getting better. Not only his on-field abilities, but his mental fortitude in bouncing back from that penalty miss in the Euros. Obviously, sort of one-upped Marcus Rashford, if you will, on the weekend with that goal. And then when it comes to the other two, for me it's up in the air for those two. I think in terms of talent base only, I'm going to go with Phil Foden on the bench and sell Marcus Rashford, only because, yes, he's the man in form. Yes, I'll probably get a little bit of flack for that, but I don't think he's on the same level as the other two. The other two have been more consistent for a longer time. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Saka starts, Foden bench, Rashford is going to go and play somewhere else.
If we're talking talent, then I've got to agree for the future. Rashford maybe doesn't show as much sign of promise as Foden does. But if we're talking right now, then I'd bin off Foden. I would start Saka and put Rashford on the bench. I mean, Saka offers that kind of complete package, doesn't he? Having started off maybe a little bit more defensive, working his way up. Similar to a Gareth Bale in that sense, he's kind of a more complete package than the other two. And I think Rashford in attack, what he offers, especially off the bench as a late sub, when you need a winner, you turn to someone like Marcus Rashford. Does Foden offer that? No. He's a nice player to watch, yeah. But it's like what we said about Gerrard and Lampard last week. I think Foden is a nice player to watch, but when you need goals, he's not who you go to.
This is tough. This is that's why you've chosen it. You're not going to choose something easy, otherwise there's no point about it. But yeah, I mean, if I was going strictly on kind of the profile of the player, not necessarily what they've done, but like what you've seen of their ability and things like that, and maybe not their form, I've always thought Phil Foden was going to be one of England's best talents. But if you're looking in terms of, as you say, how they're performing at this moment in time, Saka is completely undroppable. And then, I don't know, maybe I have to agree with Rhys and say Rashford's the one that comes off the bench, and then Foden goes. But then it's going to be a decision that you regret, because Foden goes to another team and absolutely tears up the league. So I think, yeah, based on just kind of how they're playing at the moment, you've got to look. Saka has to start. Rashford has that ability to come off the bench, score you a winner. And Foden, yeah, maybe he's not on his day at the moment. But I think, yeah, when you look at what they can do at their full potential, I think we still haven't seen what Foden can do. I think we're probably getting to the point of Saka. This is Saka just out and out now. This is Saka what he is, and it's phenomenal. But I still think Foden, there's a player in there that we still haven't fully unlocked.
Yeah, for me, I would start Phil Foden. I think he's got the most talent out of all three. I think there's an old saying that stood the test of time throughout history, which is form is temporary, class is permanent. And as far as I'm concerned, Philly Foden for me, and that pains me to say that as a Liverpool fan to a Manchester City player. I think he can play central midfield, he can play left wing, he can play right wing, and I know Saka can play left back. I know he can. Absolutely, but if you put Phil Foden there, he'll probably do a job. Let's be honest. I think he's got the most talent out of all three. I think technically he could have fitted into the Guardiola Barcelona team. He could have went to a Carlo Ancelotti Bayern Munich team and slotted in. He could go to an Antonio Conte Juventus team and he could slot in anywhere. I think, Luke, you hit the nail on the head. You said I don't want to pick him, but I know I should, or along them lines, maybe I should. But there's a reason why you think that, mate. Because yeah, he's not in the best of form at the moment. But the reality is, is he will come back to form. Saka second, defo on the bench, 100%. Great form. Again, utility player. Showed great character to come back, as Brendan says, and as Rhys is getting used to, as me and Owen know only too well. Showed great character after he missed in the final. And then you look at how the two players have come back from there. Saka's been consistent from the off. Rashford's too inconsistent. When he's on form, he's unplayable. Just look at the goal at the World Cup. Wonderful free kick. Again, good goal away at Chelsea in the week. And when he's on fire, he's unplayable. But those moments are too far and too in between. He's been on the scene, nearly 10 years now? 2016 Euros, he was there with England. We're in 2023. Yeah. Why is he not kicked on? And as far as I'm concerned, he's a good player, and I'll take him part of my England squad. And he would start at the minute for me for England. However, and as I always say, if the Earth has been invaded by aliens from another galaxy and it said it's a football match, it's our best team against your best team, and you gave me them 3 players who could play at the best of their abilities on that day, Phil Foden starts for me. Absolutely. And then Saka, and then Rashford.
I mean, that's fair enough, yeah. I mean, I think from that we can kind of wrap it up, unless anyone's got any final comments they want to add. Maybe touching back onto the upcoming games this weekend. I'm not sure who Liverpool or Chelsea have got off the top of my head, but
Liverpool got Brighton. I think Liverpool turn up, and I think we win after that beating, and rightfully so, deserved beating that we took down on the South Coast. We were put straight from the off. I was watching it on my phone because it wasn't on live TV, so I was watching it on my phone, and I could tell immediately from the first 10 minutes, yeah, we're not up for this. And there's no Diaz here to bail us out. We'll get revenge on them there. We'll go and turn them over, I think, absolutely. They won't do us twice like that. And if we do, the problem's bigger than what we thought.
Owen, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Klopp made a statement by dropping a lot of the players on the weekend. Stefan Baez just retained his place, and Milner came in, and there was a lot of changes. And I think that was a statement to the rest of the players in the squad. The intensity needs to be raised. The intensity needs to come back. Dubbed the mentality monsters the last few years. There is none of that this year. There is a real lack of it, and it showed in that Brighton game.
Just a word on Chelsea. We're not featured this weekend because we're not in the FA Cup anymore. So.
I mean, we got Walsall, so it should be a walk in the park, but it probably won't be, knowing Brendan, so we'll have to see how that one goes.
Well, the super saddlers may I have, my dad supports Walsall, and that's where I'm originally from. And I've been to the Bescott Stadium many a times, especially when we signed Paul Merson when he left Portsmouth in the early noughties, and we beat West Brom 4-1. He scored 2 of the greatest goals I've ever seen in my life. I was behind the goals on YouTube. Put Walsall 4, West Brom 1, and Merson's 2 goals. I was directly behind the goal, 2 of the greatest goals I've ever seen in my entire life. Walsall have been bought out by a consortium similar to FSG sort of style, but minuscule. They've brought back the stadium last week as well, and they've started to play well. They're going places. Just watch that space. But yeah, West Midlands against East Midlands as well.
It should be a good one. I'm not sure if it's on telly, but
You should be going through Leicester. However, don't be surprised if they run you close. They're a good team.
Thanks for coming on, James, and good luck with the fundraiser.
yeah, best of luck, mate.
Yeah, good luck, man.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Spot podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you listening, and we'll be back again next Tuesday for episode 3.